Give me one moment. All righty, you are all ready to go.
Okay, thanks, Jesse. So good evening, everybody. This is the June meeting of the Arts, Culture, Education, Street Life Committee of Manhattan Community Board 4. We are coming to you via Zoom as per the governor's orders to hold our meetings virtually. There's been no update there yet that I'm aware of. And we have a number of things on the agenda tonight. We're going to start with an open session, which I'll loop back to. Then we'll have an update from our friends at the Poster Museum, a update on the restoration of Arnold Belkin's mural, which is at West 45th, 445 West 45th. And then we're also going to have a committee discussion about some survey questions we've been putting together. On the open session piece, this was a suggestion from Josephine Ishman, who is one of our board members, to try to give the community an opportunity to share their voices and to be explicitly invited to do so. If we don't have anyone who wants to take advantage of this agenda item this month, we might start to think about reaching out to folks who might be interested in sharing. But it's something that we're going to test out at least for a couple of months and see how it goes. We do it at our full board meetings, and we figured why not add it here as well. Any questions before we rock and roll, or anything that you want to add, Alan?
No, but I see there's a Steve Fanto with his hand up.
Yeah, I responded to his question. I will bring him over shortly once we get the
Cool.
agenda going.
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's shift gears and go into the open session. If you are a member of the public or a member of the board who wants to speak during the open session, it's going to be same as full board, 2 minutes in terms of time limit. I will try to not so rudely cut you off based on when the timer goes off on my phone. We'll try to be pretty firm with that. You can let us know that you would like to share by using the raise hand feature. Or Jesse, remind me, what's the way to indicate if you're dialing in that you want to talk?
If you're dialing in through the phone, it's *6 to unmute and *9 to raise the hand function.
Gotcha. So *9 will let us know if you've called in that you would like to talk. I see we have one hand up.
Yeah, that's Steve. He's actually here for one of the presentations, the second presentation. So I'll bring him over after the public session and then go from there.
I used to be a teacher, so I'm used to awkward silence while I wait for someone to raise their hand. But I'll give it about 2 more seconds, and then we will try this again when we reconvene next month. Nice. We got a raised hand. David Warren, 2 minutes starts now.
Okay, I don't know if it's appropriate, but we're having a street problem. It commingles with transportation, and that is placard cars parking on 34th Street between Dyer and 10th Avenue. It's intruding on a turn lane and takes a full lane of traffic. So, I mean, I know it's transportation, but it's also street because it is affecting the street. And normally you're not even allowed to park there. So,
David, why don't you send me the details, and I can see what I can follow up on.
Okay, yeah, because it'd be awkward for me to do a 311 thing. It'd be too many cars. It's too complicated with all these placards.
I'm sure the precinct knows quite well about it, so we'll follow up.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Josephine, you raised your hand. You want to go next?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, well, first of all, thanks for putting this on the agenda. I did see it on the flyer that went out, Jesse, and I'm wondering, did the flyer go to the PTAs? If not, that's something that we could certainly work on. I'm sure with the start of September, there are going to be lots of questions about the new school year. So I'm happy to, forward that to the PTAs if that hasn't happened.
No, we sent it to our master list, and
Okay.
so we can definitely
Yeah.
be more surgical in our outreach going forward to those
Sure.
groups. Sure.
That's fine. I think most parents are kind of checked out right now anyway. It's summer, but we'll definitely work on that. But thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Missed your opportunity until next month. We will do this all again. All right, we are going to go on to our second agenda item, which is the Poster Museum.
Hello, thanks for having us. My name is Samantha Hirsch. I'm the education director, and I'm here with Julia Knight, who is our museum director. We wanted to just pop in and say hello and remind everyone that we're here, we're open. I wanted to quickly just share for the parents and teachers in the midst that we are booking tours again, virtually and on site come summer and fall. So if you just, I was going to drop a link, but I don't actually think there's a chat. But if you go to posterhouse.org/learn, you can see all of our tour options. And we're doing a special right now that if you book one by September 1st, you'll get 50% off of a second tour within the same school year. So it's a pretty good deal if I do say so myself. And so we're hoping to catch some of our neighbor schools. So if you are affiliated with any of these schools or can help us spread the word, we just love to chat and get our neighbors back in the door. And Julia is going to just talk about a couple of things that we have coming up.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see you guys, though I admit I have actually been listening into a couple of the committee sessions because now that everything is by Zoom, it's so easy to join. And the conversations have been really interesting. We closed obviously in March of 2020, but we reopened in late August of 2020, and we've been open ever since, operating at whatever capacity we are allowed to operate at. But as Sam says, we're now really getting back to on-site programming, not just being open for the museum. So anticipating that schools will be back, and Sam and her education team have created incredible workshops and lectures that they are booking for. And so they're, as Sam said, just any help in people looking for programming for their students. Our bread and butter, we're really working on bringing it to high school students this year. So that's going to be our bread and butter. And then also, we wanted to let you guys know that we are returning to our free monthly community days. We're starting back up on Saturday, June 19th in honor of Juneteenth. So a free day open to all. And I actually have to say that we're completely booked for that day. So that's great for us, and just a sign that people are really ready to come back into the neighborhood and get to on-site things. And then our next one is actually going to be in celebration of our second anniversary of being open. I don't know if you guys remember, like way back then when we just kind of came and started snooping on the CB4 meetings and started presenting ourselves over time. So I can't believe we've been open to the public for 2 years with a small virtual break in the middle there. But so we're going to celebrate on Saturday, July 10th with another free day, but this time we're going to have a lot of on-site activities. Our chief curator, as well as our collections manager, are going to be on site doing tours of the exhibitions, and we're doing button making, and we have a silk screen activity, which is really fun, working with a local gig poster artist, a silk screener, Mike King. And that's going to be our plan going forward, is to put sort of a bunch of on-site activities into one free day to hope to sort of draw all of our resources together and really provide a fun atmosphere for the community. So that seemed particularly relevant to let you guys know that we are ramping up again. So again, just any support, and we sent over our assets for our second birthday. So sending that out is of great help to us. Hope everybody has been okay for this last year. It's really nice to see everybody's faces again. And thank you all for everything.
That's it. We're quick. We're in and out. We just want to say hello. We're here. Come back. And if you have any questions for us, we have the easiest emails ever. I'm Samantha@posterhouse.org and Julia is Julia@posterhouse.org. So shoot us an email. If you want to come by, you can reserve tickets on the website, but if you email us and let us know you're coming, we'd be glad to say hi.
If you two wouldn't mind hanging out with us a little bit longer, it looks like at least 2 board members have questions.
Yeah, I have to put my small child to bed soon, but I will gladly answer some questions before I go.
I can be on question duty.
Sorry, I'm trying to get to the right place to see who raised their hand first. We'll go to Josephine and then Alan.
Thank you, Julia and Samantha. I'm wondering if you all have had any contact with SYEP, the Summer Youth Employment Program. They had been here to present about a month ago or so. And it's too late for the programming this year, but they partner with the city to provide internship jobs, paid jobs for youth. And the city actually pays the salaries for the youth, but they're looking for work sites to partner with. And I think that you all might be actually a very good partner. I had forgotten about the Poster House. We were in such a rush when they reached out to us trying to find some last minute partners. And so perhaps you might consider that next year.
That's actually great timing for us. We hosted remote interns last summer, and we're doing that again this summer, and we do pay our interns. But we're currently looking for partners to help us subsidize those intern payments. So that is perfect. And we are already starting the planning for 2022. So it sounds like that's good on their cycle as well.
Yes, and I believe that they also do some sort of fall programming. So I'm going to look into it more, and then I could forward you information on it just so we can sort of keep it on the calendar for next summer, or at least you know what's happening in the fall and in the summer. But that would be terrific. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alan, I think it's all you.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, thanks again for coming back and all the great stuff you're doing. So I just wanted to check the flyer that you sent us. We can send that out to our community groups, block associations, get the word out about that particular day. Cool.
Thank you so much.
Make that one quick. That's all. Thank you.
All right. I see one hand in attendees. Susan Numeroff. Jesse, can we bring her over and find out if that's a question for the folks at Poster House?
I went off and made you the host kit, and now I cannot do it.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you scroll, oh, Susan just disappeared. Unless she came over by herself. Nope.
No, I think she's still with us. She just maybe put her hand down.
Oh, okay. So I'm not sure if she wants to speak still.
Okay. Well, Susan, if you change your mind, please do put your hand back over, and I will figure out how to press the magic Zoom button that moves you from one group to the other, because I don't actually know where that is. Cool. Well, we appreciate everything that the Poster House team is doing. It's a great addition to the neighborhood, and especially during tough times. Appreciate everything that you all have done. Please come back again soon. Next on the agenda is the mural. Sarah, was there anything you wanted to say to open this up, or should we just turn this over to? Not sure who's presenting.
I can just quickly say that we, or at least I know I have been hearing about this mural project for a very, very long time. And I know that our friends on the Waterfront Parks and Environment Committee spent a lot of time on the mural previously, but now it seems like there's actually some progress that's starting to be made, which is very exciting. And so thank you, Jesse, for reaching out to Denise and Steve. And yeah, just wanted to hear from them kind of what any new updates were, if we'd be able to maybe see some restoration on the horizon. And if there were any particular details you wanted to share with us about, you know, how you guys are restoring the mural. We might have heard some of it before, but it's always great to hear it again. So that's it from me. Thank you guys for being here.
Thanks so much for inviting us, everybody. I'm Denise Penizzotto, and I'm actually the muralist hired for the restoration. It's actually a recreation of the mural. So I was hoping to be able to share the website with you for some photographs, but I don't see the chat here. So at the end, I'll put it in a link so everybody has the access to the website that shows information, all updates on the mural, as well as to our fundraising site for the mural, so that everybody has that. And if you can pass that on to people in the community. So where we're at right now, I know it looks, I'm going to be a little bit of a, I'm not going to say bearer of bad news, but I'm going to put a little halt in the idea of that we're making progress here, because we're at a bit of a standstill still. And as you can see in the park, the co-op is repairing the wall. The scaffolding is up and they're repairing the wall. And that's something that, of course, we've been waiting for more than 5 years. I know the waterfront and with Allison Tupper, that was way back in 2011, we started on getting the wall assessed and such. Where we're at now is that the co-op has taken full responsibility to repair the wall. It's an HDFC co-op, and the shareholders it's been determined they were responsible for doing that repair. However, what's happening is that the wall is being repaired, but we're having a real difficulty getting a hold of the shareholders in that building. Some of you might remember we had Nick Ciano to some of our last meetings, and when we were about to paint the mural 3 years ago, when the scaffolding started to go up, everybody was on board for that. However, after all this delay and such, and now that the co-op is repairing, we're having a real hard time getting a hold of Nick Ciano to actually make sure we can jump up on the wall and do the restoration, the recreation, I should say, because they have to chip away all of the parged cement that's peeling away. So that's been the plan from the very beginning, that I'll get up there once the wall is repaired with my crew and start from scratch with the all the artwork and the drawings and everything from the Belkin estate. So we have all their permission. We have Golden's Paints, who are still donating all the paint to us for free. We're still really set and ready to paint, other than these two issues. One is, if anyone knows Nick Ciano, who seems to be who is the super and seems to be the spokesperson for the building. If anyone knows him, or anyone that's in the building that can, that we can reach, that would be so helpful. I do have Nick's number. We all do. We have spoken to him, but for some reason right now, I know the last conversation we had with him was they're just really focusing on getting the wall repaired. We're really hoping to share the scaffolding with them and help pay for that expense as well, to try to give them incentive to let us jump right up on the wall after they're done repairing it. However, at this point is where we've stopped. It's been a few months now since the scaffolding has been up and the repair has started, and we haven't heard back from them. So I can't stress enough how important it is for us to be able to speak with Nick. And I know that if he hears from the community, I think that would actually help put a fire under him, because there's the community, myself and the mural members, all members of the community, have been reaching out, but the more the merrier, because we'd really like to have this solidified so we can get up there. And the other issue we have is, because we're probably going to end up putting our own scaffolding up, is we've found that we still have about $20,000 to $25,000 estimated that we need to raise funds. Fortunately, just so everybody knows, and you can go to the CrowdRise site as well as the Mural website, and you can see we have an $86,000 budget need, and we've raised actually all but about $25,000 of that. So we've really done well in the fundraising, but we still need this extra push. So those are two items that if we can get any, help from the community, whether it's, just spreading the word, spreading the website, we have flyers, all of that, it would be super helpful. So those are the two things that I'd really like to share. But if anyone has any questions about the mural itself and how we're planning on including the community, I don't want to be too redundant. I just want to make sure I'm filling anyone in with all of your questions. So. Anyone?
Hi, Denise. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I was at those meetings at the Parks Committee a couple of years back. So
Yeah, I remember.
Made a lot of progress. So thank you very much for your persistence. So the question with Nick, so just so I understand, are you looking to maybe jump onto their scaffolding now and take that over? And so is there a legal, is there an insurance thing you have to work out with him? Because I guess the insurance is being paid by the building, and then is your organization in a position to transfer insurance to yourself and cover the building as well? All that,
Yes,
that
I'm
kind of
happy
stuff.
to answer that. I'm a professional muralist with my own insurance that covers up to $2 million in damage, and it puts my client onto my insurance. So Nick actually and his company would be put onto my insurance like you do with any clients, and then I cover when I'm working on the mural. So any kind of damage or accidents or anything that happens, my insurance covers that. We also have scaffold training for my whole crew that's covered. So we have training and certification. So everybody that is on the scaffolding does need to be insured. Under my insurance, I have workman's comp on my insurance as well. So I take my crew on, as well as the co-op. The co-op would be my client in that. So we do have contracts we need to work out. We are in close touch with Steve Simon of Parks and Rec. So if there's any permitting that I need to take over once I jump up on the scaffolding, Steve Simon and with Parks and Rec and DOB we've been working with, and anyone else that I need to go through permitting, we've got that all ready to go and lined up as well to take it over. What we would do with Nick is make sure that I have a contract with West 45th and West 46th and Hell's Kitchen as the community, and the community also then has a contract with the co-op for any kind of maintenance schedule that they're setting up. So there is paperwork that still needs to be done before I can set foot on that scaffolding, which is another reason why we're really trying to get a hold of the co-op to see if we can't, begin making those arrangements. They still have. The last I spoke to Nick, he said he felt that the wall repair was going to be at least 2 months. So if we can, start making those arrangements. Honestly, if it turns out that we can't get everything in contract signed and arranged, that's nothing to be rushed. Everybody needs to really be clear on what's, who's responsible for what. So if it means we come back again and put scaffolding up again, and then start from not scratch really, but from me as the holder of the insurance, that's another case scenario that we can visit. It doesn't mean that I guess what I'm saying is if we can't catch the tail end of this scaffolding, that doesn't mean the project is, stalled or done. It just means I got to get my scaffolding company to put it back up again. And we're just hoping, we can help the co-op out too, because what we would do is of course take on the extension. I feel like for me, it's going to take probably about I'm guessing 4 or 5 weeks to paint the mural. So that would be my expense. And then I would pay for, I mean, within my budget, we would pay for the removal of the scaffolding, which would save the co-op the money of the removal as well. So we're really hoping to like make it a win-win for both situations, and everybody can save some funds. We're trying to get some incentive for the co-op to respond. We have written letters to everybody in the co-op building too. And we're looking at it positively, that since we didn't hear from anybody that, you know, they're not opposing it anyway. I don't see any reason why it would be opposed since it was approved 3 years ago. But again, we want to get contracts going.
Okay. As far as funding goes, have you gotten money from Corey Johnson's office?
I'm going to turn that over to Steve Franto with the money, because I'm actually being hired by 45th, 46th. So as much as I'm like trying to help with the fundraising, they're really handling the money because they'll end up paying me and my crew. So I'm going to hand that question over to Steve.
Steve?
Sure. I'll tell you that Corey Johnson, the council member's office, has promised to support our effort financially. I heard a minute ago the 2011 reference. You know, honestly, sometimes it seems longer than 10 years, this process. No less, it was around 2011 when Corey's office said, we can't help. Please just provide the receipts, you know, of the work as it's initiated and then ongoing. Of course, there isn't that type of receipt so far. No less, you know, that initiative or, you know, that promise, you know, I believe is still out there, and we won't be hesitating, you know, especially at this stage, you know, to round out our funding, to be working closely with Corey's office, not just financially, but all around.
Yes, I want to add.
Would you be looking?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I want to add.
Sorry, would you be looking for a firm commitment in terms of dollars from them up front?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah, we really can't get started until we know we have the funds. So we would need the firm commitment from them. I want to add to that, though. Brittany Bowen has joined Corey Johnson's office, taking the place of Carl Wilson, who we've been working with, along with Eric Botcher and Matt Green. And Brittany is actually one of the participants, attendees on this call. So we're welcoming her with open arms to our efforts.
Oh, welcome, Brittany. Okay, cool. So perhaps, go ahead, finish up. I'm sorry.
No, I'm done.
Okay.
Other hands.
So I was just going to suggest that perhaps
Sarah.
one of the things we could do, discuss this with the at the end.
Looks
Sorry,
like
I
other questions.
Go to Sarah and then to Blake.
Denise, you mentioned timelines. I was just curious. I think you said they quoted that the scaffolding would be up for the wall repair for 2 months, and then you needed maybe another month and a half or so. I guess it's a twofold question. One is there any sort of timeline for you? Like, say it's the end of summer or going into fall, like, would you still be able to do the restoration when it's colder? And then I guess my second question is, I know this, you know, the years keep piling on to this beautiful piece of historic art in our neighborhood. And I'm just wondering, you know, what the condition of the mural is now in your eyes, and if you feel another year would be, you know, dangerous or continue to hinder the work that you have to do in the future, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. Thanks for asking that. I do have a timeline for season, definitely. This year, just because of my schedule, I would have to be done by mid-August, or else we would have to start the spring of next year, which is fine. We've been waiting this long. If we get the go-ahead and the money, you know, we'll go ahead and shore everything up and get my crew together. We can't paint in the winter because paint doesn't, it freezes and such, and we wouldn't want to be storing any of that. So Mark Golden of Golden's Paints, actually his father's father started the Beaucourt company, who Arnold Belkin, the artist, used his paints in 1972 to do this mural. And the firm Belkin Paints became Golden's Paints. And Mark Golden has been a real advocate of getting this mural painted. And they've actually, I gave them the original rendering that Arnold Belkin used for the mural, and Golden Paints had started 3 years ago when we thought we were painting, matching all the paint to the original. So we know that I'm recreating with the exact same colors. And that's like a $10,000 donation that Golden's have given to us to save us that. So we're super happy about that. And that will happen again, whether we'll get that paint, whether it happens this summer or in the spring. And then to answer your second question about the mural, I want to make it really clear. We had the wall assessed in, I believe it was early 2011 with Art Care Restoration Services. And they looked at the wall back then, and it's declared that the mural was already back in 2011 a loss. We declared that we could not save any of the mural, even back in 2011, because of the water damage that had fallen behind the stucco and the brick grout and such was also parging out. So the job of the co-op, what they've also agreed with the assessment for their job, is what they're doing right now, you can see, is they're chipping away all of the stucco that's on that wall. So they're right now removing the entire mural. So once their wall is repaired, it's going to be a white, smooth surface wall. So the mural right now, what you see, it's getting, chipped away, and it will be gone, which is why we're so happy that we have Arnold Belkin's original maquette, because my experience, I started out as a big wall dog doing wall advertisements on the sides of buildings and in theater and in film, where I would work with designers and be able to grid off on the wall the exact a grid, and then grid my artwork that I have, so that I can actually just grid off and recreate the mural, quite mathematically, actually, so that it can be, the exact mural. So we're doing it. That's why I keep restoration is a habit to say. We call it a restorative recreation is what we do when we're recreating murals that are historical or that want to be saved, but they're just too damaged. So we will start from scratch on this. But we've been planning that actually since 2011. So that's all new. I mean, that's nothing new there.
So Blake and then Jessica, and then I don't see any other hands, so those might be the last two.
Thank you for the update. And, I saw the document assessment report in the Dropbox as well. But I was just wondering if you would be able to provide a little more context on the Rescue Public Murals organization. Do you do other work in the city, and what's the typical criteria for murals that you're working on?
Sure. Rescue Public Murals is Harriet Altman and Rusty. I'm drawing a blank on her last name. Anyway, and Harriet Altman and Rusty they have agreed, actually. They handed the mural over to myself, my business, and the 45th, 46th and Hell's Kitchen to take care of. They've moved on. However, they have actually agreed and have been really wonderful in sharing that they want to document the whole process for us. So they are the ones that organized the wall assessment years ago. And also I've been always looping them in whenever I'm in touch with Golden Paints or any big movement. They're completely aware of that. But they're basically doing all the excuse me, I'm drawing a blank on, they're going to be recording everything for us, photographing, making sure that, because I'll give them all the documentation that I'm using, and we'll be in close contact with them. However, they are taking a back seat on the actual painting of the mural at this point.
Thank you.
You're welcome. They're a great group to be working with. I'm so glad that they're still interested all these years later.
Jessica?
Thank you. Maybe I missed this, so apologies if I did. You spoke about essentially starting from scratch, it sounds like. And I'm curious, if we think through the next 50 years, like, is there work or process once you've done this that needs to be done to ensure that it is maintained? Or is this really like every 50 years, community has to galvanize to, you know, restore something?
Well, a mural is never expected to last 50 years. You usually put a cap of 20 years on a mural. It's outdoors, it's the elements. And this mural really, you know, that you can see the cements that's been patched over it over the many years. When Arnold Belkin did it, there's records showing that the wall already was not in perfect shape, that there was cement parging off of it even at that time. So the only thing we can really do, and what we do with all professional restorations and stuff, is first of all, the wall repair itself has been turned over to the co-op as their sole responsibility. So the co-op itself is making sure that the work of the resurfacing of the wall is done. Remember, they're shareholders in their buildings, so it's their, excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you, excuse me. So as far as the cement staying on the wall and all of that, that has nothing to do with the mural itself. But what the mural, what we do with the mural is, first of all, we have to make sure that they're putting on a stucco finish coat, and then I need to make sure of what product they're using. Last time we spoke, it was the Elastomera surface finish, which works perfectly for murals, particularly with the golden paints. I'm using Golden Paint's exterior mural paint, which is what all the major murals in the Northeast particularly use. Golden's being located upstate New York, and you know, the Philadelphia murals, and here in New York, a lot of firms rely on Golden's exterior mural paints. But then the final coat is to varnish over the mural. And we use a breathable varnish that allows for moisture not to get trapped into the wall. Golden's paints has a breathable surface, and then the varnish does as well. So that if you have to use the right materials. If you don't, that can cause water to, you know, seep in, and then if it has a seal coat, like almost a plastic coat, the water will stay in and it can cause mold and such. So we're using the right paints and we're using the right varnishes. And then we've also built into the budget, it's not my budget, it's the 46th Street Hell's Kitchen budget, and we have to go over that in detail as well. There's a maintenance plan that has to be arranged that, so if something does look like it's peeling, we can get up there and correct it before it goes too far. And a maintenance plan is always built into a outdoor mural project. So, but again, remember, it's paint on the side of the wall, and even your house doesn't last 50 years, house paint, without, you know, a touch up. So keep that in mind. These aren't permanent projects. They are projects that you build in a maintenance program so that you can maintain them as long as they can be. Now, the Belkin mural didn't have any maintenance plan in it in '72, and I don't know when they started patching the cement over it, but it was before my time, and I believe I started getting connected with the group early 2000s, so it had already been needing some patchwork then. So,
Thank you.
yes, you're welcome.
Not seeing any other hands, but I actually have a question. You mentioned the Philadelphia mural program. This is not going to be directly connected to what you presented about, so I apologize. But I'm just curious to get your opinion as someone who makes murals professionally, obviously knows a lot about that type of project. What are the barriers in New York City to having public murals on the scale that they have in a place like Philadelphia? Is it that we don't have sort of the philanthropy that's focused on it? Is that we don't have the umbrella nonprofit that's focused on it? Is that we don't have the community support to find spaces? Is it none of those things, all of those things in a longer list? Like, why does Philadelphia have a great public mural program that's, you know, all over the city and New York not, is basically the question.
I can give you an opinion on it that's based in some of my experience with it, but honestly, I must preface that it's an opinion. The Philadelphia Public Mural Project, for one thing, has been around for many, many years. And they had organized and developed, in fact, Golden's Paints work with them quite closely. So, and I've met quite a few of them in my projects. They have one real solid mural program in Philadelphia. We're here in New York City, we have quite a few different ones, not one big one. I think the size of the city of Philadelphia, even though it's quite a sizable city in itself, but we have so many just disjointed groups and so therefore, like you see down in Little Italy and along Houston Street and that area last year, and Lower East Side last year and the year before, all of a sudden you see this whole crop up of new murals that have come into that neighborhood. And that's because of two mural projects or two mural groups. That Art Noise is one of them, and I can't think of their names right now, but there's quite a few separate, smaller private groups here in New York. I oftentimes I answer open calls for murals as a muralist, and I've noticed that it's really disjointed, and I think that's what it is more in New York City than anything else, because there's no moratorium on how many murals you can have in New York City, and there's no there's no group that's against it, that's holding it back or anything. I don't think the 5 Points Project helped New York City much with murals. I don't know if you're familiar with 5 Points, but that there's a building out in Queens that many muralists had painted all over the building. You could see it when you took the train across into Queens a lot, you know. And the landlord painted over all the murals. They sold the building. The new owners painted over all of the murals. Overnight, they whitewashed it without telling any of the muralists. And they actually ended up going to court about it. And the new owners had to pay the muralists retribution for not letting them know that all of their murals were being painted over. And I think that was a couple of years ago. I think it's been, I said last year, but actually I think it's been like 5 years or so. And I think that made the process of mural painting, it really gave landlords and people needing to take a really close look that no longer is New York City just like renegade murals and, you know, like, oh, I want to do something on your building. Okay, you can do it. I think it became much more of a legal issue in New York City because we didn't have anything set up really legally about murals. Whereas in Philadelphia, because there's such an established program, they work with the landlords, they have all of that protocol set up. And again, that's an opinion, but I think it's opinion based on, you know, some of the things that happened in New York City.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. I've always wondered what are some of the things that are driving,
Yeah.
What are some of the reasons why? So it's helpful to hear your professional opinion. We do not have any more questions. So thank you for, Alan's raising his hand. We have one more question.
So it sounds like we need something like the director of the realm, kind of an oversight sub-agency of some sort. But also, I don't know if this affects Philadelphia, but here you've got your Black associations, local community groups, Black associations, which if somebody wants to put a mural up, obviously the Black association wants to be involved. I like it, I don't like it, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that aspect was in effect in Philadelphia, or was the city just working with the landlords and just the city was making sure that it wouldn't offend anybody and that sort of thing. But you've got a lot of different like you said, it's a bigger city. You get a lot of smaller pieces in there that are going to raise their voices on it. But it could be something maybe we should, look into trying to combine this whole, like the mishmash of various kind of groups and put it under some sort of an umbrella.
I
future-wise.
agree.
Thank
I know. Oh, I'm sorry. Was someone else speaking? No? Okay. I know Bloomberg has started a new mural program that I'm actually trying to raise some funds through, because our mural in the park has an odd entity of that the co-op, it's a privately owned building, but in a park. And so we are in a gray area really, because of like Bloomberg's new project, it wants to be a city funded project or a city focused project. So even though we're in the park there at Mathews-Palmer's and it's a neighborhood park, we still have the issue that it's a privately owned wall. And so we fall into gray areas where if it was city, we would just need city approval of what it is. But because it's a private, we do need the approval from the co-op owners. So, anyway, I'll stop there.
Hey, maybe just rounding things out, on behalf of the block associations, number one, Denise, thank you. You guys, imagine having a muralist, who at the same time understands every aspect of the details of what we're doing. Alan, thanks for your thoughts with regard to fundraising and to speaking to that for quickly. Beyond Corey's office, we're seeking, like Denise said, private funding. And just in closing, to anyone on this call today or in the future, any other ideas about how to build us up, to that extra 25, 30,000, especially during this real exciting time. We are getting there. Please let us know. Thank you, community board, all of you. We so appreciate this opportunity.
Really do. And if there's a link or someplace that I can send the link to the website in the CrowdRise so you guys can share it, please let me know and I'll send that to you.
Do you have Jesse's email address, Denise?
Pardon?
You have Jesse's email, Denise? Jesse Bodine?
Yes, Jesse actually is who invited me, so I could send it to Jesse, yes.
If you send it to him, he'll make sure that it gets blasted out to the CB4 universe.
Excellent. I'll make sure I do that again. Thank you.
We appreciate you two joining us. Before the committee closes the lid, though, on this agenda item, does anyone want to make a motion? Alan, you're raising your hand.
Yeah, I think we should write a letter to Corey Johnson's office indicating our support for this and that it's been taking all these years, and for him to put a number on the table for the group and make a commitment that there'll be X number of dollars available when the time comes.
I'm still relatively new to this whole co-chair thing, but I believe that Alan cannot technically make the motion himself.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Anyone who wants to, Alan's or anyone who wants
to estimate you.
Anyone on the committee who wants to make the motion, and then we would need a second in order to vote on it.
I make Alan's motion.
Second. Second, Eldora.
Wow.
It's been motioned and seconded. I think everybody heard Alan's suggestion, but anyone unclear on it? All right, all those in favor?
Or add on if you'd like to add on something also.
I'm getting something in the Q&A that Catherine Treat is trying to join the meeting. Could someone help her with that? Because I'm not a technical guy.
I promise to fill Kathleen in completely on the mural part of this conversation. And thanks, David, for thinking about her. I'll tell her. She'll appreciate it.
Yeah, she sent me a note too saying that. So we'll make sure she's filled in. Thanks.
Completely. Thank you, guys.
Cool. I think I saw enough hands, but anyone opposed? Anyone present but not eligible? All right, the motion passes unanimously. Now the fun part, who's going to write the letter?
I'm an A, Sarah.
I knew that was coming. That's fine, as long as I can send you edits.
We'll edit it. We'll edit it. Don't worry.
And if there's anything that I can help you with, if you need any, details, please feel free to reach out to me as well. I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sarah, for dealing with being voluntold. And thank you once again, Denise and Steve, for joining us tonight. I think we are on to our last item. There is new business that anyone wants to introduce. And I saw Katie join, so if she's still with us, I'm going to turn it over to her. Looks like she's off camera, so I'll just keep on talking. Katie has been sort of the driving force behind us putting together a survey for parents of school-age children in our district. The most recent thinking from the folks in the education group is that we'll do sort of separate surveys, one for elementary level families, one for middle school families, one for high school families. Katie and Mercedes have both drafted what I think are some pretty good questions. And so hoping that we can get something out relatively soon, but wanted to give Katie, if she's here, a chance to talk about it. If she isn't able to come onto video and off mute, maybe Mercedes could just say a couple words. And if anyone has questions, we can chat about it quickly before we move on to new business.
Katie, do you want me to say something? I'll just speak quickly. We drafted questions based on the needs of the children, but for both groups, there is a need for social emotional. So we have questions about that. And I'll pass it over to Katie now that she's on camera.
So sorry. And in fact, I think that we're going to have the high school list too. But yeah, so we just sort of tossed out some ideas about what parents might be interested in, but frankly, we really want to hear from them about what their concerns are. So we've come up with sort of a laundry list of possibilities, but we're open to adding anything else. So that we can hear from parents, like, what are their top 3 concerns? I think we said 3, right? Not 5. I think we said 3, yeah. What are their top 3 concerns? But we do, the thing is, just logistically, that, school ends soon. And so we know that if we're going to do this, we want to hear from parents now so that we can be thinking about how we might be able to help address some of these needs. But we need to get these questionnaires sort of approved and distributed by reaching out to their parent coordinators and their PTAs and asking if they can send them out. That's why we made them so short. It's literally 3 questions. What school does your kid go to? Actually, even forget the second question, maybe what grade they're in or something. And then we just said, like, and if you look at this list and just tell us your top 3 concerns, we just made it very simple. But we really, we hear a lot we hear from principals about what they think the priorities should be. And we hear from the DOE about what their priorities are. But just as community members, we thought it might be really helpful to hear from parents about what some of their biggest concerns might be. Making no promises that we're going to be able to fix them or address them, but if we can understand them, then maybe we can help address them. Did I do that right?
Absolutely. And if anyone has questions, we'll take those in a moment. But the only thing I would add to what Mercedes and Katie shared is this came out of how can we incorporate the parent perspective into our request to go into the city's participatory budgeting process. But I will speak for myself. What I now see it as is an opportunity to do that, but also just to better understand parent perspectives in our community, which I think can inform a lot of the things that we do, from do we want to do another forum? What should the list of topics be, to who should we maybe be inviting that we haven't had at a meeting, to any number of things that I can't predict in this moment. I think just as valuable as what are our budget requests going to be is just being able to collect this data and have a better sense of what parents in our community are the most concerned about. Any questions for Katie and company? Elzora.
Hey team, great to hear that these questions are ready to go. Hopefully we'll get that approved tonight to go out. What I would ask, I guess I ask of the chairs. My daughter and I attended a street fair, Lexington Avenue and 60th Street. So that I don't know if street fair permits have been given for our district, for our communities that we cover and that we'll be tabling again. And I'm only bringing that up, but I know how important it is to get our survey launched and going now, but I would hope that we could have it like kind of an ongoing thing. So if we are tabling at street fairs, we can just be, you know, have some forms that parents can fill out while we're tabling at these street fairs. And if we are covering street fairs again, I volunteer. I do enjoy face-to-face activity with people. So, you know, I commend the team for getting those questions ready to go. But I just wanted to make sure that we can continue this as ongoing.
Alan, I don't know if you want to respond to that. I'll be transparent. We really haven't talked about when we would resume that, but it feels like a timely question as the city opens back up.
Well, I don't know if they're having street fairs in our neck of the woods, but street fairs, which comes under the SAPO auspices, that's been transferred over to transportation. So we could, on their meeting Wednesday, and actually SAPO is going to be at the transportation meeting discussing the open culture, the open street. And so I was planning on being there for another presentation. So if no one is there from here, I could certainly ask, see if there's a list already out in our neighborhood, and then we can pick up what Elzora was discussing about making some sort of presentation there. So we could do that. I wanted to get back to what Kit was talking about in terms of the question there. And I would agree, it's become bigger. I think initially we thought we'd get some specifics about what to ask for in conjunction with what the principals are asking for, but it's a bigger issue. It's a bigger discussion that probably needs a more specific time and date, whether it's a forum or maybe a specific committee meeting. But I think it would be important to try to get some specifics from whoever we speak to. Some of the questions that were asked, or some of the comments were asked, there were some comments on the emails about security. There were some comments about playground equipment. But that we need, like, if there's a particular school that needs a particular piece of equipment, which is being overlooked perhaps from the principal who's more, maybe wants to, maybe needs more technical assistance. Playground equipment is important. So if PS blah, 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 these equipment, that would be something we should be asking for or trying to put into our budget request. But I think it's a bigger discussion in terms of policies, aspects that are certainly a concern for several schools in different areas. So I think it's right. I think we need a bigger picture on that. But I had a curiosity. We've been talking about all the money that's coming in to the city pretty soon. And I was thinking about how do we get somebody down here to the committee to discuss whether or not they've thought about what they're going to be doing with the money. Are there any plans? Is DOE thinking about doing certain things, continuing certain programs? I'm assuming the money is going to be going to different agencies. So we've got media, arts and culture here. We've got some street life. But if education is getting a large sum of money, are they thinking about it at this point, or are they waiting for the money to be in the bank at this point? Or, I think we maybe try to get that discussion going with DOE about what plans do they have for this new source of funding that's coming in. Just a thought.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question, Alan. I think we could ask DOE to come in. We could also ask other folks potentially come in and explain like how the different pools of money are all sort of hitting at the same time. And then just to go back to your suggestion, Elzora, I love the idea of this being an ongoing thing to survey parents. and specifically the idea of bringing the survey when we are at things like street fairs, and specifically when we're at schools. As someone who sat at a table for CB4 at PS33 and PS11, I think having a survey would actually be a really helpful way to engage with parents who are there, because after you take a survey, there's a natural opening for a more substantive conversation, whereas previously it's sort of been up to us to figure out, how can I get you to want to talk to me? So I think it's a really good suggestion, Elzora, that we should run with. And Alan, I like the idea of having someone come talk about the American Rescue Plan funding. Senator Jackson kind of talked about, or we did talk about, the foundation funding formula. There's at least one more pot of money that's come in recently, which was schools not losing money based on the per pupil funding that they were expecting to hit. And so there's sort of like a confluence of funding streams all happening simultaneously. And it would be, I think, healthy to hear a little bit about how folks are planning to leverage that. Any other questions for Katie and company, or any other comments on the things that we're talking about? If not, we can move on to new business.
Actually, can I just ask a quick question? I know that we had the questionnaires for elementary and middle. As part of sending it out, can we also, what would be the process so that we can put together one for high school too? I guess is my question. Can we just send a draft amongst us like we did, and then can we sort of count this as approval for sending out all three? Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's fine. I mean, Alan, let me know if you disagree, but I wasn't planning to have a formal vote as much as give folks a chance to ask questions if they have them. I think you and Mercedes have put some really good thought, and Josephine and maybe a couple others have shared some good feedback.
Okay, great.
I think if the education group is comfortable with the questions, we can send them to Jesse and also start to share them with our networks.
Great. Lovely, thanks.
Cool. Any new business items? Any old business items?
Yeah, I did have a new business item just for the committee's reference. I wanted to invite DSNY back to the July ACES meeting in order to get an update prior to needing to do the budget request. Specifically, I would want to better understand the current status of the basket pickups, as well as, I think it might be a good opportunity to update the community on the compost, curbside compost collection, since I think it's a new process where people need to request pickups. So these are not areas that I'm particularly clear on, which is why I think it would be helpful to have DSNY at the next meeting. So I'll compile, like a couple of these topics, but if any of the committee members have any other things that you would want to speak with them about, and obviously we'll have that opportunity for the committee and the public to ask questions at the next meeting. But, if you want me to give DSNY an advance heads up about anything, please let me know.
To that, Blake, the woman or the young woman who came in and spoke to us about sort of her own personal program that she got started with volunteers.
Yeah, Katie, I think she might be on the list today.
I was going to say, I'd love an update from her too, because it was really interesting to hear sort of about that. And I wonder how it's going and stuff.
Yeah, Katie's actually on the call right now. I don't want to put her on the spot, but.
Okay, how about for July?
She raised her hand, and I don't want to put her on the spot either, but Katie, I think I just gave you permission to speak if you want to give us an update on what you've been up to since the last time you joined one of our meetings.
Hello. I actually was a little late. I was hoping to talk in the beginning with the open agenda thing. So we are continuing on with our cleanups. We had one this weekend. A lot of new volunteers. We were able to sort for not only plastic, metal, and glass recyclables, but someone volunteered to be the paper recycler, paper and cardboard. We've also been collecting cigarette butts to recycle via TerraCycle. One of my volunteers has taken that on as a project. We have definitely seen a shift in the amount of litter on 10th Avenue now that we have the addition of the 100 more basket trucks per week that the mayor used the federal stimulus funds for. So that's definitely been helpful. Earlier in March, we were picking up about 325 pounds of loose litter and emptying every single corner basket. Now we rarely have to empty a corner basket. There are still a couple that, are heavily used. So we do make sure we empty them. But as far as loose litter, we only picked up 65 pounds in about 7 blocks this weekend. So that's definitely a huge improvement. There are still problem areas, and there are still a lot of things that I've been trying to talk to sanitation about. And it's hard because I'm not sure exactly what committee is dedicated to this, because there's sanitation issues, but they're relating to outdoor dining. So is that a transportation committee thing? Because for example, on 9th Avenue between 51st and 52nd Street, you have a whole stretch of restaurants. Almost the entire block is restaurants. So all of those businesses, plus the residential buildings above, all of their trash ends up closer to 52nd Street in one giant pile. And that's a huge issue because it's trash from multiple businesses plus residential that ends up sitting there, and sanitation ends up having to pick it up. So you have businesses that are essentially getting free trash hauling, and sanitation doing more work. And I saw them last week picking up that pile, and I could hear the recyclables in the black bags. So it's definitely something that needs to be thought of when it comes time to putting in all the regulations for outdoor dining being permanent. There needs to be a sanitation component, as well as with snow. A lot of the outdoor dining is too close to the bike lanes and their equipment can't get in. So there's a lot of, our streetscape has fundamentally changed over the last year, and there are more sanitation obstacles. In regards to the NYC Cleanup Initiative, a group of us, citywide cleanup groups, wrote under the umbrella of the Litter Coalition, wrote a letter to Speaker Johnson and City Council asking for that discretionary budget item to be funded back to FY20 levels. That is the discretionary funding that each council member gets to pay for various supplemental cleaning services within their district. So currently it's being used to pay for supplemental cleaning by ACE. They're down in like Soho area, Chelsea, and we have one guy here in Hell's Kitchen. After the letter that you guys wrote in January, they did add 4 blocks worth of 10th Avenue. I had been told by Carl Wilson that that would be a separate ACE worker, not part of what our 9th Avenue guy is doing, so not taking away from the 9th Avenue route, but it turns out it is one and the same. So our 9th Avenue guy is now doing 9th Avenue plus 4 blocks of 10th Avenue once a week. So ideally, I'm really hoping that if that funding does come back up to the FY20 levels, which is a 38% increase, we would be able to get a dedicated worker just for 10th Avenue.
Really appreciate.
I think that's really it. If you have, I don't know if you have any questions, but.
Let's see if anyone has questions, and then I do want to make sure we go back to Blake. I'm not sure if he was finished. One thing, Katie, that I just wanted to put on your radar pretty quickly is that Carl Wilson has moved on from the Speaker's office, and his new community for liaison is on the call tonight. Her name is Brittany Bowen, if you haven't met her yet. So just wanted to flag that for you.
Cool. Yeah, I'm aware, but we haven't chatted yet. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Katie before we go back to Blake? Well, then just another big thank you for everything that you're doing, Katie. It's really above and beyond, doesn't begin to describe it. It's huge. So thank you for everything that you're doing.
No problem. Hopefully we can have a clean city at some point.
Hopefully. Blake, I'm not sure if you were finished, if there are other things you were going to bring up.
No, I'm all set. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, cool. Alan and I can chat offline about bringing DSNY back, but if other committee members have questions that you want to make sure they answer, please shoot those over to Blake so that he can compile them the way that he has in the past, and we can flag them for DSNY. If they're available, I do think it'd be great to have them back next month. All right. I'm not seeing any other new raised hands, which means I think we could be done for the evening. Alan, anything else you wanted in terms of new business or anything that I neglected to say?
No, good meeting. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you, folks from the public who joined us. And this might be the earliest that we have ever ended, 7:42.
Happy Pride, happy June, everyone.
Absolutely.
Hey, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everybody.